Allan Paul Roberts. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Living the dream. So I came across you on Facebook and I saw your book and I wanted to have you on because it's seems like it's pretty much in line with what's happening now. So if you want to give us the name and give us the premise of the book and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so the name of the book is The Globalist Plan to Collapse Everything to
Mhm.
Usher in a New World Order. And you can learn all about it at globalcollapsebook.com. And the foundation of the book, it's built around what I believe are 11 pillars of American society
Mhm.
that are intentionally being worked on to bring them down. And if they succeed, society will come down. It's
Right.
an orchestrated, intentional, very systematic and methodical thing that's been happening for decades. It's coming to a
Mhm.
crescendo. Had the election turned out differently, it would be advancing a lot quicker than it is. It's still advancing in some ways. There's a lot of pushback, thank God,
Mhm.
but it's very intentional and it's worldwide. It's global, the globalist plan. So it's the U.S. It's big in Europe. It's
Mhm.
big in Australia. You can see it in Canada. It's mainly the first world, but there's third world aspects of it too. Basically, one of the things is to dilute every Western culture,
Mm.
dilute it by flooding in with the third world, so that you no longer have your borders, your culture, your customs. They start to fade. And
Mhm.
that's all over the world. I've been on several podcasts, with people from the UK,
Mm.
one from Scotland as part of the UK, but, yeah, one from, Germany. Same story, just different verses of the same story, and the same
Right.
thing's going on in Australia if you watch the news in a big, big way.
Yeah. It's so what is the reason for collapsing it all? I mean, is it the great reset they're talking about or is it something else?
Yeah, it is. It is the Great Reset. It's, if a lot of people thought that, Build Back Better was just, uh, Joe Biden's campaign's, slogan. That was actually a globalist slogan, Build Back Better. In my book, which has 175 QR codes, 100 of them are connecting to videos, the rest to documents and websites. Uh, but anyway, one of the QR codes takes you to a video where you see about, I would guess, 30 different world leaders saying "Build Back Better" in their
Right.
accents, in their own ways, like "Build back better." And you know the Brits saying, "We've got to build it back better." There's the one from uh, New Zealand, really, really big accent there. But they're all saying it, yeah, and we got to build it. We got to build it back, but we got to build it back better. But they're all saying "Build back better" because that is the globalist mantra, and you can't build it back until you tear it down.
Exactly.
Yep.
And and anybody that has a pulse or an internet connection, they can kind of tell that they're subverting cultures all over the world, like you already said. When you have places like Dearborn, Michigan, or now even New
Yeah.
York,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It scales on your eyes, you're not paying attention. I don't know what the true end game here is just, I mean, is it to do like a one world government? Is that what they're looking for? Like the biblical new world order?
Yeah. It's okay. I'll just give it to you since you asked it flat out.
Yeah.
It's a one world government
Mhm.
with a one world dictator
Okay.
and a one world religion
Mm.
that is not centered on anything we're familiar with. It's centered on Satanism
Mm.
disguised.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's why some of this stuff can be so utterly evil. When you look at some of the Epstein things that have been uncovered lately, the
Right.
cannibalism, the
Mhm.
cruelty, the torture. I mean, it's
Mhm.
hard to even think about it. But
Yeah.
if you think about it, it's like who in their right mind, even who in their twisted mind, could think this is okay? And yet, we have so many people in leadership positions who are engaging in this. Why? It's because they're part of a top down system where you don't get to be in the club unless you become one of them. And becoming one of them a lot of times means the Satanist belief.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they are serving their master, Satan,
Yeah.
with the same fervor that a lot of Christians serve their master, Christ. And it's when you're aligned with a dark force instead of the force of light, incredible cruelty and terrible things happen. But here's the thing. If you go all the way back to the story of Adam and Eve and how the serpent conned them into rejecting God, into essentially saying, we don't trust God, we're going to go with this other plan. The subtlety cannot be underestimated. They are very careful. They're very slick. They're very they just do a great job of hiding their true intent. I mean, so much of you'll call it the fake news. They're not telling us the truth.
Uh-uh.
There's a hidden motive behind so much of it, and they're
Yeah.
good at it. They're
Yeah.
good at it. So people don't see it, and that's why it's just so hard to believe because they are so good at it. They're con men at the highest order, orchestrated by con men at an even higher order who own the news, who own most of the major news, who own most of the major entertainment. They own all the control points of culture until
Mhm.
recently. All right. And
Yeah.
so people are having their eyes opened, the scales are coming off, and some of them are waking up. And honestly, the book is written for two groups of people. One, the group like you and me, and maybe a couple layers down, who maybe they get it, but they don't completely get it, and they want to get their arms around the whole picture, the whole
Right.
picture.
Mhm.
But the other is to take people who are just asleep. You have friends, you have maybe parents, you have family members who don't get it, and you desperately want them to get it because you know how vulnerable they are until they do.
Mhm.
Whistling in the dark, not knowing that there's someone in a dark alley coming, just waiting for him. It's that kind of sense that a lot of us have about people we love who don't understand what's happening. And
Right.
this book will wake up those people.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I have a friend of mine who read it who didn't believe in any of this stuff, but read it because she knew me and they should give it a chance. She came back and it's like, wow, I just never knew how the world works. And now that I see it, I have a lot of changes to make. So it works because it starts with the obvious things like
Mhm.
why? What's the explanation for the crazy policy at the southern border all these years?
Mhm.
Why is our education system coming apart? I mean, are these people really that incompetent?
Mm.
The answer is no. Nobody's that
Mm.
stupid. And if it isn't incompetence, it's intentional. And if it's intentional, that means it's a plan.
Mhm.
And
Well,
that's just the truth. Yeah.
let me start with a different angle first. When they started the woke movement, whenever it was, they started attacking masculine men in this country,
Yes.
and as the
Right on.
reason is, I just had a conversation with somebody this week about it. I
Hmm.
said, it is so men like me and yourself, they want guys like us gone because we're the ones that are going to fight.
That's right.
And here's another one that I thought about. The reason why they treat our veterans so crappy and don't give them the care they need is because they are the ones that know how to organize and fight. So they keep them drug
That is such a
addicted.
great point. That is such a great point. Wow. I never thought of that. Yeah. Totally, that is right on. They're attacking the men. They go after just like when they go after religion, who do they attack? The priests,
Mhm.
the pastors, the
Yep.
leaders, and that's the
100%.
same thing. Yeah, they're attacking the leaders, the men, the real men in society, the veterans, who have paid a price, who have the courage. Maybe you're dealing with a lot of issues, but they are the real men, and they know how to fight, so they have to weaken them, and that's what they're doing. That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. When
Mhm.
you have someone that can lead a group of people, whether it's militia, but oath keeper, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
um, they this is why back in the 90s, like when Ruby Ridge happened, they were making these people out to be nuts. They're not. They're patriots. I'm painting with a broad brush here, but they definitely have this idea of, make this prepper lifestyle
Yeah.
seem nutty and
Yeah.
crazy, and that way people don't do it. They want us dependent on fake meat and Ozempics and all this other crap. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going to say it. I think Bill Gates, Peter Thiels, all these people, they're anti-humanists. So how do you think the anti-humanist plays into this the plot?
Well, I think it is part of it. So, I kind of tend to tie things up to the highest level a lot of times. So I'm going to give you an answer that maybe you haven't heard before. But I think the whole anti-humanist thing is actually a play at the highest spiritual level. Um, Mankind is God's greatest creation. It's
Mhm.
the peak of his creation. It's
Mhm.
what he created after everything else. It's the only part of his creation that has free will. Animals don't have free will. It's the only part of his creation that is creative, like he is the creator. We create
Mhm.
things. I mean, just look around. Nothing
Yeah.
else in the universe creates things. Man
Yeah.
creates things.
True.
Satan hates God. He was thrown out of heaven. He knows he's ultimately going to be defeated. His purpose is to destroy everything God created, and man is the final thing. His goal is to replace man with basically a man machine hybrid that would be like a almost like a robot army. And it's not because it's an army, but it's blind followers ultimately of Satan. That's where I believe it's going, or they're trying to make it go there. People ask about, like, how could there be so much evil in the world? How could God let that happen? Well, they forget about the whole deal with free will. That's
Mhm.
why man was allowed to get ejected from the garden, from the paradise, because in his free will, he made the choice to serve a different master, and there's consequences. And God, above all, honors that free will because he doesn't want robots. He wants people that love him out of their free, determined choice. That's the only thing that counts. And so a lot of things can happen, but, on the other hand, there's prayer. We can pray for the country, pray for each other, follow God, get aligned with him, and that pushes back. But, again, getting back to the question, the goal is basically a robot army. When they say, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
What they really mean is the happiness will come from something where your mind is disconnected and you're like a zombie. You're calm, but you're not happy in the sense that we know happiness. You're not happy in the sense of free will and genuine joy. You're
Mhm.
quote happy because you've been dumbed down. And honestly, I think that's where a lot of the injections were going from 2020
Yeah.
was to set the framework, to set the architecture for that kind of thing to happen, for the
Right.
replicating
Mm.
nanoparticles,
Yeah.
that self-assembling.
Mhm.
That's all tied into, to AI, to 5 and 6G. It's
Mhm.
a plan that's been architected for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And I mean, thank God there's people who are pushing back on that plan. And
Yeah.
just to kind of take it full circle, I believe I was given this book as a revelation from God. I state that in the book in the early chapters. Like, I woke up one morning at 4 a.m. and I had this just immediate awareness of these pillars. I woke up and it was just bang right there. Came in three stages. I got six initially, and I was wide awake. I laying in bed before I got up. It was 4 a.m. I got six. I was blown away. I wrote them down. Tried to get back to sleep. Laying there. Got three more. Wrote them down. Got two more, of total of 11. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm asking God, like, because I figured it had to be him because it was totally outside of me. And I said, what is going on? Why are you showing me this? And no answer, no answer. And I'm just thinking, thinking, thinking. And it occurs to me, do you want me to write a book? And if you do, what's the title? It's wham, the same thing. The title was there before I could even finish the question. Do you want me to, what would the title? Boom, it was there. And
Mhm.
and I'm like blown away. It's like, whoa, that is bold. The
Yeah.
globalist plan to collapse everything to usher in a new world order. And it came so fast and so clear. I mean, clearer than any thought I've ever had, that I just knew that's what you're meant to do. Research the evidence for that 11 pillar collapse, intentional collapse, and put it in a book. And I was on fire. I went like 3.5 months writing morning and night, the whole weekend, every weekend, and a lot of evening nights after my job during the week. I was on fire. I could not, I mean, I just wanted to do it. I didn't feel compelled. I just wanted to. And, and I wanted to do a good job with it. And I wanted it to be really readable, that the average person could just read it and understand it and not have to reread it like you do so many books that bore you to death, which is why I use the QR codes. It's in a conversational tone because my whole goal is to get the message out any way I can. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, going back to what you were saying about free will, I want to touch on something. Billy Graham's daughter, years ago, I think it was like right after he passed away. We were going through a spiritual decline in the country. And people are like, "Well, why is God Like you said, why is God letting all this evil happen in the world? And she said it very succinctly. She said, God, being the gentleman that he is, if you don't want him around, he won't be.
That's right. That's so
He,
good.
yeah.
Absolutely.
As my stepdad used to say, God will give you enough rope and then he'll pull you back when the time's right. But I mean, and what I've noticed is these humanist types, they are very anti good. It's the best way to put it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, listen, I don't know these people personally. I only know what I see and read. But I've heard conversations about Peter Thiel or whatever how you say his name. It's just everyone's like he's the Antichrist. I mean, I don't necessarily think so because I was
Yeah, I don't
listening to.
I doubt it, but maybe, you
I
never
mean,
know.
you never know because
Yeah.
like I listened to a guy's name is Jeremiah Johnston. He's a Shroud of Turin scholar. I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah, he said that the Antichrist will come from the finance world. So I'm thinking out of the
Hmm.
World Economic Forum.
Yeah, World Economic Forum, Bank of International Settlements,
Hmm.
something like that, yeah.
And that brings me to another point. Is another person that I think that kind of sticks out in history is John Rockefeller.
Yeah.
I think that take it for what it's worth. I'm just a schlep with a microphone, but I want to say that he really caused a lot of problems in our country.
Yes.
Like with his influence of education, banking, income tax, all that. I'll give people a little brief history. It was during the Civil War.
Mhm.
The government allowed for income tax to happen to help fund the war. Then it got shut down. It got brought up again. Then it was ruled unconstitutional for income tax. So then his father-in-law became a politician to get it passed. So
Okay.
it's the 16th Amendment. So I mean, and it just tells you that what these people of influence can do. And
Yeah.
there's also the conspiracy theory about the Titanic. There were
Yes.
so many people that it wasn't an iceberg, it was an explosion or whatever.
It was
Um,
people they wanted to take out who were opposed to the banking system,
mhm,
that they wanted
yeah.
to set up the Federal Reserve, yeah.
So it just tells you that there's nothing these people won't do to
That's
get
right.
to their goal. So
Yep.
and the other thing is that they want us dumb, they want us sick, and they also want us distracted. I
Yes.
mean,
All 3 agree 100%.
and if we don't start waking up, like you said, taking the scales off our eyes and listening and doing our own research and figuring out how to manage ourselves, it's never going to stop.
Yeah, we have to open our eyes, and it's people like you and me and others who are speaking up, but people hearing this need to start speaking up, within their
Mhm.
families, within their circle of friends.
Mhm.
We have to get to the place where we people understand what's going on, and I call it going from like awareness to like no way, like am I going to put up with this, to hell no. We got to get from awareness to hell no as fast as we can, and it's
Mhm.
not going to happen unless, like you're saying, real men start stepping up into what honestly their god-given role in society,
Mhm.
and take some courage, protect your family, protect your community, and start doing the right thing. Don't let these evil tyrants get their way.
Mhm.
We can't let them.
Only thing it takes for evil to flourish is good men to do nothing.
That's right, yep.
These people have evil intentions, and it's in every facet. I'm a big music guy, but I'm very particular about the type of music I listen to. So I don't do mainstream stuff too much. But if
I'm with you
you
there.
if yeah, I know because it's all just droll and product placement. We can get into that in a
Mm,
minute. And you notice how it's all along that same line. What I'm trying to say is that they make these people do something ridiculous to get them into the club, and that way they have dirt on them and they can
yeah.
use them and make them puppets.
Manipulation is blackmail leverage.
Exactly. And it
Yeah.
was like um I'm not a huge fan of what's going on with us in Iraq or Iran right now, which I don't think most
Mhm.
people are. But I
Yeah.
don't I mean, I think we were led into this war on, false pretenses and because it's going to weaken us in this country.
Mhm.
But when it comes to anybody that's in power, I just don't trust them anymore.
Sure. Yeah. We've been through too much.
All this stuff about 9/11 and how that was perpetrated by the Mossad and this and that and the other thing, all the misdirection out there. And I think is because of social media that we just
Yes.
have a flood of different people telling us different things. So they make it to where we can't figure out what's the truth.
Well,
You know?
we're so bombarded with so much. It's information overload, and it's really good to pull back. I mean, I'm not
Mhm.
active on social media at all.
Right.
intentionally because I don't want to get sucked into that vortex. I mean, I
Mhm.
want to be clear thinking. I want to pick the things I want to listen to.
Mhm.
And even then, you can get overwhelmed if you have like a series of podcasters you listen to. Sometimes it can get overwhelming there, and you get
Mhm.
start getting sucked into the vortex, so to speak, where
Mhm.
you just are spending too much time listening to it and not enough time away from it to kind of integrate what your thoughts and what you really think.
Yeah.
And but I do agree with you, and it's it's the same with TV and dumbing down society, getting them obsessed with sitcoms and things that just waste your time. Young boys getting obsessed with video games when they should be learning skills, building character, building their physical strength, figuring out who they are and what life's all about. Instead, they're burning away all kinds of time on video games. I think it's all
Mhm.
intentional.
Yeah.
It all ties together into a package of don't look here because there's something going on over there. It's a distraction from what they really ought to be doing.
Mhm. Well, I listen used to listen to this comedian named Bill Burr, and he says, "You ever notice that when the government fucks up, McDonald's comes out with a new sandwich?" You know?
That's
It's
great.
the truth. I used to work at Orlando Regional, and I was there when the Pulse nightclub shooting happened. That was my shift to work, right?
Okay.
And I had one of my relatives was like, "Oh, it's a false flag." But do you think there's a limit to what they would do to get this agenda pushed or passed?
No, I don't think there's a limit. I think there's brakes on the limit that slow them down. But I think there's nothing they wouldn't do if they thought they could get away with it. Let me just put it that way,
Yeah, and
because their whole thing is couched in secrecy, so they don't
mm,
want to be exposed. So that
mhm,
will slow them down at times. At least it'll slow them down until they might get to the point of having so much power that they don't care, and then it comes out and it's in plain view. But
mhm,
you think about how things have been hidden and we're starting to come out. Some of the Epstein revelations, I know we didn't get the whole download, but we got a lot. I mean, to where people, especially in the European Union, people were stepping down from the exposure.
mhm,
And I've heard people say that, well, that's because in their system, their parliamentary type of system, you have this vote of no confidence thing where somebody can be
mm,
ejected pretty easily, and so they don't want that humiliation, so they just step down because they know it's coming. In the
mhm,
U.S., you got senators with 6-year terms, you know, uh, congressmen with 2-year, but I mean, they're untouchable. If they don't want to step down, the chances are they're not going to have to. And very
right,
rare that they get ejected. So it's a whole different system here, and it's just maddening that some of these people are so corrupt, and there's so much information on them to prove their corruption, and
mhm.
yet they stay in power. It just drives me crazy.
Well, the one that comes to mind recently was that Dan Crenshaw guy. Like,
Yeah.
Sean Ryan, outed him. He's like and then he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sue you," and then he threatened him with SEAL Team 6, which is a fucking bold move.
It can happen, and there is momentum building. I mean, I think we're seeing it for the first time. I would say that up until this year, we never saw it, and we're starting to see it. So that gives me some hope.
Another friend of mine, Megan, she was talking about how maybe, Trump is, like, playing the long game here with all the stuff that he's doing. Because people are suffering now because of the gas prices and all that, and the price of everything's going up. Like,
Yeah.
I just got my power bill in the mail, and it's almost $220.
Yes.
So it is, it's everything is there's a cause and effect here, and it's just to keep us down, and I think it's to keep us depressed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually more concerned right now about the AI threat.
Mm,
I've been paying a lot of attention on how many tens of thousands of jobs are getting lost at these major corporations. I mean,
mhm,
they're laying people off in the thousands weekly
yeah,
because they're figuring out that AI is basically replacing almost every job, and including the jobs of the intelligent people who need to think because they've got the AI. The analytical power of it is so strong. If you know how to use it, once you understand how to use it, it does eliminate all kinds of jobs. And
yeah,
I'm more worried about the impact of that on society in terms of people getting depressed and losing hope.
yeah,
Because when you lose your job, if you don't have a high enough skill or a rare skill, or the skill to use AI yourself to start your own business and leverage it that way, you're kind of left out in the cold. And
mhm,
so the smart move now is toward the trades. I mean, if you
mm,
have kids growing up and they're trying to figure out a career, I would go almost unilaterally toward the trades, because either that or go into using AI yourself in a really smart way, like as an entrepreneur. Those would be the two main paths. But I think going into one of the trades, plumbing, heating, HVAC, anything building wise, especially custom building that takes a lot of intelligence to do and is not repeatable like robotics would make it. Those are the things that they're gonna last the longest. The smart play to me is go into the trades, get really good at it, and then run your own, and then launch your own business in that trade.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the growth path for like a young man. That is pretty bulletproof. But
Yeah.
I would really be careful on anything else. I mean, lawyers. That's all been, it's so much you can do yourself to get all the legal information you need. Very few professional trades are left, white collar, so called, are left
Yeah.
that are gonna survive. So, man, we gotta be careful.
I don't have children, but I have a nephew, and I told him when he was in his late teens, I said, because he was wanting to go into business, and I said, "Okay, why?" And he said, "I want to make money." I'm like, "Okay." So I'll do a little story here. I had a guy come.
Yeah.
He was my nephew was living with us at one point in time, and I had a guy come to my house. He contracted for Lowe's, and all he did day in day out every day was uninstall and install dishwashers. He was a plumber by trade, and
Okay.
he was making $120,000 a year just doing
Wow.
that.
Wow.
So I told Jeremy, I said, listen, dude, find a trade, become an electrician, become a plumber, and in some instances like plumbing in the state of Florida, it's just an apprenticeship. You don't have to go
Yeah.
to school for it,
Right.
and you don't, and then, or learn how to be a lineman or something that's going to. And listen, it's easy for me to sit here and say do this, but because I didn't do it, but I'm in the medical
It
field,
was a
and so it's
different world. It was a different world when you
a
grew up.
hundred
Same with
percent.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We didn't have this idea of someone trying to destroy our way of life back then. You know,
Right.
you thought, oh, well, we'll just fight them. But then they got smarter, like you're saying, and now they're doing it in a very subversive way. So, and I told him, I said, you can learn to do this trade, and it's honest work, it's good work. But yet again, back to the, one of my original points was they made it um, embarrassing to do those types of jobs.
Right.
You know,
But you know what? That's all turning around. I mean, I
hmm
think people's eyes are being opened. I mean, my
hmm
God, the cost of a college education, it
stupid.
costs more than ever and it's worth less than ever. That's not a winning
Yeah.
formula.
Well,
It's like
yeah.
picture someone like you said going into the trades making 120K a year within a few
hmm
months or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's even say it's 1 year. 1 year in some trade school and you're off and you're earning, just round it down, 100K. Let's compare that to going to college and burning up 200K,
hmm
if it's a good school. So
Yeah.
now you're 200K behind it. Maybe your parents paid for it. They're 200K behind it, but you also lost 2 years. So you
hmm
lost 2 years at 100 grand and you spent 200. So you're 400 grand ahead by going to
hmm
the trade school.
100%. Yeah. And it,
And so
uh,
if you were a parent and you said, "Look, this is gonna cost me 200 grand. What if I put 200 grand gradually into supporting my kid who wants to grow his business? Like, don't give it to him all at once, but
mhm.
coach him through it. Be the bank behind it that's kinda rolling him out to get the trade." You know what I mean? Even if you wanted to go straight to launching your own business, I think that 200 grand would be way better spent,
Mhm,
than putting them in college. I mean, it's different if they wanna be a doctor or an engineer,
mhm,
something that is probably gonna stick around in some way,
mhm,
then okay, but anything that's AI, vulnerable, I think
mhm.
is a foolish move to put your kid through that.
I was in Austin, Texas, around, like, September of last year, and that place is a very, business and tech-oriented area.
Sure.
Everybody was a clone of each other. You know what I mean? They're all wearing the same clothes, they're all, I'm like, I'm not making fun of people, but it's
What do you
like
mean? Like, what kinda clothes? I'm curious.
it was like a blue shirt, khaki pants, and brown shoes. I don't know if it was like some office uniform thing.
Yeah, that sounds odd.
Am I in a simulation? Because everybody was like, I was waiting for it to glitch. You know what I mean? I was with my girlfriend, and I said, "Is it just me, or does everybody look the same here?" And she goes, "No, everybody does look the same here."
That's so
They're
funny.
talking about investing your children. We have this sense of rushing children out the door. when like as soon as they turn 18, go to college and do all the crap. Instead of doing that, let them stay, let them save money, let them build a business, let them
Yeah.
learn, and then
Yeah.
that way you're giving them good skills. It literally will help them be better if you don't saddle them with $500,000 of debt.
Yeah, and
So,
get your boys away from the video games and get them
mhm,
get them onto a planned track of teaching them skills. I mean, young guys love to learn skills. If they start learning carpentry and just like some basic things, they start getting into that builds their confidence, and then they're ready for the next thing. Then maybe they do a little plumbing or they do a little wiring of a home or something, helping somebody. Those are the
yeah,
kind of things that build confidence, and then, as you learn things, you can kind of put things together, and then maybe they are become the subcontractor to build their own house, you know what I mean?
right.
And they
Mhm.
know how to hire the trades, and they know enough about it that they have a sense of confidence. I mean, those kind of things open doors, instead of just blowing your time on video games.
I'm a gamer, and I have been most of my life, but, the caveat to that is if you do it in excess, if you do it more than an hour or 2 a day, when it starts to become inhibiting of your life. I was a very introverted child, I didn't have a lot of friends, but I still had hobbies and things like that, so I was doing martial
Yeah,
arts. I think that things in moderation are great,
yeah.
but also once they become, like I said, inhibiting, they have to go, so
Well,
I
there's
do
yeah,
feel
and
that. Yeah.
there's a trade off, even if it's in moderation. And
Mhm.
I'm pointing my finger at myself too. Even if it's in moderation, like I'm a news junkie, I'll sit and watch
Right.
news all evening if I don't catch myself. I could blow as much time on news as a kid could on a video game.
100%, right. And
But the thing is, I need to consciously pull away from that, and as
mhm,
a parent, I need to guide my kid away from that because the opportunity cost. What could you be doing with that time? And the
mhm,
thing is
yeah.
to find something they're really interested in, and then just leverage that to go deeper and build the skill, So that's the way to do it, I think.
Oh, I agree. Joe Rogan, he was talking about how if his kids want an hour of screen time, they have to get on a treadmill. So, I mean, it's a
That's
it
so
literally
good. You
yeah, I
gotta
mean, it
earn
makes
it.
sense. You
It
gotta earn
does.
it. Yeah, and that's and any kind of, like, I'm not saying every leisurely activity or fun thing needs to be earned, but
Right.
as adults, you and I, we go to work every day, we punch a clock, or I don't know if you do, but I know I do. Sometimes, you feel like you've earned it as an adult, but
Yeah.
yet again, like, I mean, there's times that I took 2 years off because I had some medical issues with my back.
Mm.
And like you were saying, if you don't check yourself, it
Yeah.
can get out of, and it did. There
Easily.
was times that I would start playing a game at, I don't know, 9 a.m., and the next thing I know, it's 3 o'clock, and I'm like, crap, I haven't done anything productive. So I
Yeah.
completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, you get sucked into the vortex and time
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
disappears.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what I mean, other than some of the things that we touched on, what can people do? I mean, to wake up a little bit more, like how do you find a credible news source? Talk about news junkie. How can you find a credible news source to give you the real information?
Yeah, I don't think there's one source to just address it
Mhm.
directly, but
Yeah.
I think there's better sources. Um, I think like, the Natural News website, is a good one.
Yeah.
It's on the alternative news spectrum, but
Mhm.
very clear-minded. Really, it's growing in popularity, and it's like it's not left or right, it's just right down the middle. The Epic Times. Go there, and, that is the most well-balanced, and they have a very big news crew all over the world. And, so that would be like I would say that's your grounding thing, just the Epic Times if you wanna just get the straight scoop that's not leaning left or right. Um, yeah, places like Natural News. I mean, and then you gotta have some things that you could say are on the hard right in terms of they sound tinfoil, but not really. I think like, Infowars with Alex
Mhm.
Jones. I know he gets a bad rap in some circles, but
Mhm.
there is so many cutting edge stories that you'll learn months or even years before everyone else if you go there and just have an open mind. Don't drink it too fast because it's like drinking from a fire hose sometimes, but in moderation, I
Yeah.
think it's a really good thing. And I even, and this is in my book too, and it's funny because I have a whole set of recommendations in my book of things you might want to consider where you might want to go, but among those is actually, RT, Russia Today,
Okay.
which, believe it or not, is a much more honest news source than the American legacy media by far.
Okay.
But the reason you want to go there is because you want to know what they're thinking too, because
Mhm.
they're a major force in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't consider Russia an enemy, but I consider them a potential enemy. A potential enemy if things get nasty between our two governments. They're a nuclear power,
Yeah.
and honestly, their search engine, what the heck is it called? Maybe it'll come back to me, but basically, a Russia-based search engine is one of the best, and I use that in the book too. I do one query across like 5 search engines and let you compare. And yeah, theirs is actually the best one. I
Wow.
mean, some alternative U.S. news sources come up near the top on certain things,
Mhm. Yeah.
and they're good ones. They're ones I would have trusted. So I think they want their people to be able to get at the truth. So their search engines are weighted to try. Every search engine is weighted to rank different news sources, and that's why they come up so different. That's why like Google will come up like with all the far left, Reuters, all these traditional far left leaning, and the truth will be buried down on page 2 or 3 if it's a hot political or social topic, right? But you have to. I mean, I have a background in programming. I know how this stuff works,
Mhm.
and everything has to be weighted. There's rules that guide it all, right? So it's really like who wrote the engine. That's why it's so important to know that because you got to know where they're coming from, and do you like the way they've kind of weighted the system? And so yeah, that's something to consider. But again, that's in the book. You'll see them back to back, and it's pretty eye opening.
Let's do a little conspiracy theory deep dive real quick.
No, it sounds fun.
So even though it's been a while since it happened, but the whole Charlie Kirk thing, right? So we were talking about being inundated with too much information. I think that this is a good example of that because from the moment
Totally agree. I felt
he
that way from day one.
yeah, and it's there's just been so much misinformation and so much weaving of just conspiracy theories. His wife's involved. She's actually a Mossad honeypot, and all this other stuff. I mean, so what do you think happened with that? Because I have my theory. I'll do mine after you go with yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to couch this by saying I'm not sure, but I have my theories. And we'll just say
Okay.
this is purely theoretical.
Of course.
I can't really back it up.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, I think it does weigh heavily toward Israeli influence there, even though I don't buy the Candace Owens story. I think she's a little too far out there for my taste. Having said that, I don't follow her closely because honestly, I don't want to get sucked into that vortex.
Right.
I love Charlie Kirk. I love everything he stood for, but I don't want to spend all my mental energy figuring out what happened to him
Hmm.
because there's way more vital things going on in the world right
Right.
now that mean a lot more going forward than that does.
Valid
Now,
point.
I have total sympathy for him and for people who are kind of hung up on that because there's a reason to be hung up on it because we know our government or somebody is BSing us and we
Hmm.
don't want to put up with it and we don't want to let it go. So I'm for that attitude, but
Hmm.
I'm not going to waste a lot of time there. So to get to your question, I do
Hmm.
think there's a strong case that it's Mossad
Hmm.
influenced.
Right.
I hope it's not our government too.
Yeah.
The thing is, our own deep state is pretty deep. I don't think the top layer would have authorized that, but
Hmm.
there's a heck of a lot of stuff that goes on at lower levels, and some of that's been exposed. That could have been part of it, but you got to say, why would they want him taken out? I think the reason is because he was extremely effective. The people who get taken out are the ones that are effective for good. Those are the
Yeah.
first ones that go. The presidents they try to assassinate are the ones that are making a difference. Kennedy, Lincoln. There's been some others that have stood up against the Federal Reserve central banking concept before there was a Fed, who stood in the way of that, that were shot and where they tried to take them out. The same thing with Reagan, shot, tried to take them out. It's the ones that make a difference, the ones that are pulling to the right that get taken out. And Charlie was extremely effective. He was pulling kids into it. He was
Hmm.
pulling the future generation of leaders into his way of thinking. And I would say at the very highest levels, the globalist level, they were not going to stand for that. They had too much leverage and they had to end it. So I don't know who, but I think that's where the motivation probably came from.
We are aligned in our theories, sir. I don't I don't pretend to know everything about the whole situation because I had heard of Charlie Kirk, and I didn't really, I was a late bloomer or late to the party with him.
Me
I didn't
too.
because I'm not a super like social media guy. I don't really scroll that much.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, but when I started listening to his viewpoints and all this other stuff, and like you, I'm like, this guy, he's got a lot of charisma because
He does.
and here's
Courage
the
too. Courage to stand up for the right thing and to just say it, to put it out
yeah,
there.
and that's exactly where I was going. And he has this conviction as well
Yes.
to
Yes.
say the truth,
Yep.
and they can't tolerate the truth because who
Exactly.
runs from the truth? The devil.
Yeah. Anybody that has something to hide, that's their biggest fear is that they'll be uncovered. And again, that's when they back down is when they're getting uncovered. They just back away, let
Hmm.
everybody forget about it, and then they come back for the next round.
Exactly, and it's just and people have to arm themselves with knowledge and the know how to take care of themselves. And I ain't talking like a fight or anything like that. I'm saying f- learn discernment, pray for discernment, and learn how to grow your own food and
Yeah.
and
Be
all this other
independent.
stuff. Yeah, that took the words out of my mouth. Be independent.
Yeah.
So where can people? Well, let me do this again. I have 3 questions that I ask people that come on my show,
Okay.
and they're so the first one is, what are 2 beliefs that make you Allen? Like core tenets of your personality.
Okay, I would say first and foremost is a daily, sincere determination to try to be the best person I can. Number one, because I love God and I want to do His will and I want to be an extension of His will in this world. And that's not like a super religious or weird thing. I just mean like on a personal basis, I want to make a difference. And I believe He is the creator, the source of all good, and the source of everything that is the right way to go and the way that'll make us happiest and the way we'll make a difference is to be completely 100% aligned with him. So that's my number one goal, to be as aligned with what I believe his will is, in the world, in my life, in the circle of influence around me. That's the first thing. And I would say the second thing is to work diligently to think of ways to make that happen in your family, in your community, like we're doing now, spreading the word, like not to waste my time on this earth, but to make a difference, to try to make a difference. And as I get older, that is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. You know, we all go through a time where we're raising kids, we got a family, we got a million things we're juggling. I mean, our way of making a difference is to be a good dad, a good mother, whatever it might be. You know, that's where our focus has to be. But like once the kids leave and they're launched, then it's time to, rearm yourself, so to speak, refocus, and get ready for the next phase, because that's the time in your life where you've pulled enough things together where you typically have more resources, more time, more spare time. You know, you're not running the kids in the night and things like that. You got time to think. And I mean, make it pay. And that's what that's what I try to do. And that's what I advise others to do, because I was late to this,
Mhm.
and when it finally hit me, and it really began with the book, it really began with writing the book. And that's what really put me on a totally different track. It's like, oh my God, I really can make a difference if I stay focused. And I've been wasting so much time up until now. And I want that to change. And I'm so much more motivated and I'm so much happier because I'm engaged in something I believe in,
Mhm.
instead of just blowing my time.
Yeah, and you feel like you're fulfilling a purpose, and
Yeah.
that's one of the human conditions, I believe.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
then
Exactly.
the the second question is, you're about to go to the next life. What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, I think I'm trying to remember how Charlie Kirk said it. I wish I could remember. Somebody asked him that, "How do you want to be remembered?" And whatever he said, that really resonated with me. But
Mhm.
there's a song you can look up on the internet, um, "When It's All Been Said and Done" by Martin Doman. I'm trying to remember. When it's all been said and done, the only thing that matters, did I live my life? Did I live my life for you? Basically, did I live my life for God? Did I live my life for truth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the third question is, what makes you happy?
A couple things make me happy. One of the things that makes me happy is being able to help someone and see it really work out, that they're truly helped by it and that they feel good and that they're better off just making a difference in some way. Um, I love seeing it when people have a turnaround in their life and they have a like come to God moment that sets the stage for a whole new life going forward. I had that experience my first year in college and it put me on a totally different path. So much happier, more peaceful. I feel like I'm not in it alone. I felt like I was in it alone up till then. You know, you have the fear, the uncertainty, the tension that goes with all that anxiety of not knowing how what life's all about and what your purpose is or how it's going to play out. When you go from that to truly trusting God and feeling like you're not in it alone, you know, you may go through hard times, but you got a shoulder to lean on. You got someone helping you. That is the pivotal moment, and I love it when I see people come to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people find you and find your book?
Yeah, so if you go to globalcollapsebook.com, that connects everything else. And from there, you can get the book on Amazon. You can order signed copies and even sets of signed copies. I give you deals with sets, and they're all signed as a way to give them to other people. A signed copy is a really cool gift. It's a persuasive gift. And so, hey, I got a copy of this book signed by the author and it's on this topic, man, you ought to check it out, like that kind of attitude. That's a
Mhm.
pretty impressive gift. It makes a nice gift for somebody, you know, for birthday or any other purpose. Um, yeah, I also have an author page, author.aproberts.com and X at author AP Roberts. And I am going to be coming out with a blog within the author.aproberts.com, where every single podcast I do, I have the tech now to download the podcast content and package it quickly and get it out there. I'm going to be launching that, and then my plan is to not only do that, but since the book's on globalism,
Mm.
to be like a source of global news, like what's going on that connects to the book in any subtle way. Just like keeping your eyes on what the globalists are up to. It's going to be a hub for that. That'll be author AP Roberts. From now, just go to globalcollapsebook.com. It branches out to all kinds of things from there. You'll see a lot of my other podcasts I've been on if you like what we're talking about. It's a great place to get connected with other people, like-minded people on this topic.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And bye, everybody.
See y'all.